See guys, it's really that simple to do. There just isn't anybody else that's talking about it out here. So that's why I feel so strongly in having to speak on this for the Ableton community. I've talked to so many people who either were gonna quit Ableton but found my channel and were able to fix the problem they were having with their 808s, or just quit and moved over to FL because it was just easier and they were able to find more tutorials faster on how to get your 808s to hit. And it's just a common problem in the Ableton community that I've seen, is that people have trouble getting their 808s to have that trap sound. Like you can get in FL Studio super easily because there's tons of tutorials on it. But no other Ableton producers that are doing tutorials are showing you how to get this sound. And that's exactly what we're debunking today, because it's actually super easy to do. You just got to know a couple little steps that aren't really being talked about anywhere else. So everybody knows about the most popular 808 called the Spins 808. That's the 808 that you're looking for to get that sound that you want. But there's a couple different ways that you can format that 808 to work for you, and it all depends on the length of the 808. So you may have seen spins in different sample packs out there where they may be shorter or they may be longer, like the original, which is the one we just played. They may be shorter or longer, and you're going to get a little bit of a different sound from it. So that's the first thing that I want to bring to your attention, is the length of your 808 is going to greatly depend on what the sound of it is going to be like. All right, so let's talk about a couple ways that you can change the length of your spins to get it how to sound how you want in your mix. So right now we got an 808 right here. Let's go ahead and solo this bad boy. And let's just put the regular spins drum in here that I just played. So this is the original spins right here. We're going to put it to one voice because we don't want more than one voice playing at the same time. This is an 808. We want it to be a mono signal. So let's go ahead and get that going. So right now we just got a regular spins, and I have a basic pattern set up in here. So let's just listen to this really quick. And what you may be noticing is that the spins plays until the next 808 hits and never actually fizzles out. And that's one thing about a longer 808, is it's going to have that sort of a sound that doesn't fizzle out, right? It's going to be a longer note. So if you wanted something that's going to fizzle out more, you got to shorten up the length of it. And when an 808 does fizzle out, it's actually going to let the next note that comes in hit that much harder because it's reintroducing it again instead of just tacking on to the end of the last one. So you may have seen me do this before, but you can actually play with the attack, decay, and sustain of your 808s to go ahead and change how long they're going to play for. So let's turn the sustain all the way down because we don't want it to play the full length of the note. We want it to be dependent on how long the decay is. Okay, so now let's listen to it with this 600 millisecond decay. It's going to sound almost like a kick. So basically, you just made a kick sample. Congratulations, but we don't want a kick. We want it to be an 808. So let's play with that decay a little bit more and turn it up. So now you can hear it start to fizzle out before the next 808 hits. And that's exactly what we're looking for. It's going to make it more bouncy and hit even harder when the next note comes in. But you may be noticing, since we did that, the 808 itself lost a lot of its volume. So what you're going to want to do is turn up the gain. Now you can either do that here with the volume knob or with the gain over here. So we can just crank this bad boy up. And if you don't feel like making it, you can go ahead and find these in different sample packs. Like I said, the spins is a super common 808, so you're definitely going to be able to find them in different sample packs. And if you're looking for some good 808s, and the 808 that we're actually going to use from this is in a sample pack that I just dropped not too long ago called the Lost Treasures Drum Kit. And I actually am going to leave a card at the top of this video. If you want to go check out this video here, I did a whole deep dive on exactly what you're getting when you get that drum kit. And it's just loaded with tons of awesome stuff. So if you want to check that out, click that card and watch that after this video. But let's jump in here. We're going to use the one called Emerald 808 from my drum kit. All right, so now we're going to jump in and take a look at a couple other little tips that you can do to mix your 808 just a little bit better. So don't skip any of these next steps, because if you miss one of them, your 808s are not going to hit as good as they possibly could be. So let's jump right into these. All right, first we're going to talk about the basic stuff that hopefully you guys are already doing, but if you're not, no worries. The first thing is you need to be chopping the lows out of your melody, right? You don't want the melody and the 808 to be fighting each other. That's absolutely a no-no. So I'm just cutting the piano here. I'm cutting it right around the 100 hertz. And as you can see, if we didn't have this, we have a lot of low information in here, and this is what's going to be fighting with the actual 808. All right, looks like the Vox is already good to go. It's already been chopped out right around until the 500 range. So we'll just throw this in here just to be extra safe. But we should be good to go now. So that's going to be very important so that your 808 and your melodies aren't interrupting each other. You want your 808 to push through the mix without fighting with anything else. That should dominate the lower frequencies and nothing else should be fighting with it. All right, the next basic thing is making sure that you have a clipper on the master. And when I say clipper, I mean a soft clipper. So the soft clipper that I prefer to use is the classic clipper by T-Rax right here. And the reason I like to use this so much is I can control how soft the clip is actually, right? It gives me a nice diagram here so I can actually go up and I can make it more of a hard clip, or I can keep it down here and be more of a soft clip so I can really fine tune it and get it to fit perfectly in the mix. So this is the one that I tend to use, but the one I would recommend if you don't have that and you're using Ableton is the glue compressor. So when you go ahead and grab the glue compressor, what you're going to want to do here is turn the soft clip mode on, and then we're going to go ahead and turn the range all the way down to 0. And what that's going to do is it's not going to allow the glue compressor to do any sort of compressing, because we don't want to use it to compress. We want to use it just for the soft clip feature. Okay, so depending on which one of those you're using, you're going to want your 808 to hit at a different volume. So right now, let's go ahead and we'll turn the classic clipper on, and I'm going to use this first 808, which is hitting up here. Let's see how this sounds. Sounds great. Now we're going to go ahead and solo the second 808, which is actually going to be a little bit quieter, but that's because this soft clipper is doing something a little bit different. So let's listen to it with this one now. So there you go. There's two different ways you can clip it, depending on which one you have available to you, and you can get very similar results using either one of them. All right, so we can play around with the 808, and we can boost it in different parts with the EQ if it needs it. So some 808s might not be as bassy as other ones, and that's where you can go ahead and beef them up with the EQ. Now, I know for a fact this EQ is from my drum kit, so it's already good to go. I made sure that it was a very quality sample. But if you had a different EQ from a different pack and it's not sounding as good, you could boost it where the lows are hitting. Maybe you could add some mids to it. You could play around with this a little bit, and I'll show you what that sounds like right now. So I actually think this sounds good, boosting these mids just a little bit. But as you can see, when we were adding it to the lows, it just started destroying it and becoming way too much. All right, the next thing you can do is you can add some harmonics to it by using some sort of a distortion plugin. Now, there's a couple ones that I always go to, one of them being Decapitator, like you see right here in front of us. The other one that I love to use is Trash 2 by Isotope. So those two give me the best results with my 808s. And I only really use this if I need some more highs or mid-highs to be boosted in my clip. So let's see what it would sound like if we added it to this. Okay, so there we go. We introduced quite a bit of more highs into this 808 sample, made it sound really good, but as you probably heard, the volume of this decreased like crazy. So let's look at before and after the plugin. If we turn it off, we're hitting right about 6. And if we turn it back on, we're hitting at -1. So what you could do to change this is put a utility on it afterwards, and then we could boost it back up. So that's always an option if you'd like to add some more distortion and grit to your 808. Okay, so to top it off and just put the icing on the cake, the last thing that I like to do with my 808s is put a compressor onto it. Now, the compressor is going to go ahead and thicken up, beef up the sound of it, especially if it's a more thin 808. It'll be very useful. But it's going to go ahead and beef it up a little bit and add some more harmonics to the 808 as well. So you could definitely use Ableton's glue compressor, and I want to show you really quick because there's a lot of really good presets that you can use with those that come right out of the box. So if you go ahead and click down on the glue compressor right here, you can see there's all kinds of ones. Some of them are for bass in particular. So you could go ahead and put this bass punch one on, for example, and then you could play with it a little bit to get it to sound how you like. So that sounds pretty darn good right there. Now, as you can see, I went ahead and put the threshold down quite a bit because it was doing quite a bit of compression onto it, and we don't need all of that. Once you start doing too much compression, you're going to notice that the 808 starts to sound super thin. So I backed it off quite a bit. I'm going to have it between 5 and 10, somewhere around that range. And then I'm going to mess with the makeup too so that we can get the level to be right about where it was before we did it. Now, me personally, I use a different plugin than this one. I use a UAD plugin, which is going to require a UAD interface to use. But that one right there gets the best sound out of the 808 to me. So that's the one that I always use, and I'll show you how I do that really quick. See guys, it's really that simple to do. There just isn't anybody else that's talking about it out here, so that's why I feel so strongly in having to speak on this for the Ableton community. Alright guys, so all of this is great, but if you don't have the right 808 samples that you can apply all these techniques to, then you can't really get started with all this. So if you need to get some new samples, if you need to upgrade your drum kit, go ahead and check out this video I'm going to link right here. I'm going to walk you through exactly what comes in my new drum kit and what you can expect. It's freaking fire. And besides that one, guys, I'll be catching you all again in the next one. Peace out.